by saying congratulations on this documentary. As someone who not only has had family members touched by cancer, but touched by cancer myself, I've got to say that this is an absolutely amazing documentary, and I know it's going to open up a lot of people's eyes out there.
Thank you. It's been such an important project for us to all work on, and really pleased to be able to share it with the world finally.
So I have to ask, how did you first become involved with this project?
It's a good question. So our company, Moonshine Agency, we specialise in health documentaries with a real focus on global health, and I've always been really passionate about global health. And so when I came across this idea of cervical cancer elimination and that it was possible, I was so intrigued because, what a moonshot to eliminate a cancer. It's been with us, since the dawn of time. So I was just so excited by the idea that this is the first step in actually eliminating lung cancer, and that it's, going to be made possible through an Australian innovation. So, it was a really exciting project to follow, I guess.
Yeah. And I have to ask as well, because most people out there would know your work through your work on Mary and Max. How did you become involved with a company that majorly does health documentaries?
Oh, okay. It's a while since Mary and Max. That was a really fun project. So after that, I did a lot of work initially in my early career in more popular culture, kind of, all kinds of entertainment sort of based projects. And then I had an opportunity to get really involved in a project around, it was an international project sort of looking at pain relief and access to palliative care on a global scale. And through making that project, we were able to really make a big difference and really raise awareness, and we could really see that engagement the audience were having and how they connected with the subject matter, and it was really meaningful. Yeah. And that really, really helped me understand just how powerful storytelling can be when you put a group of people, dim the lights, show them a film, and the conversations that can start, and the energy and enthusiasm that can come from, bringing people together in that way and showing them something different. That really inspired me, and that really shifted my direction, I guess, in where I wanted to go with filmmaking.
Definitely. And you talked about starting up conversations. This documentary started up a conversation for myself and my wife, because neither of us knew that we were so close to eliminating cervical cancer, and it's a big topic for us to discuss because we travel a lot through Asia as well with work. So tell us a little bit about how you first discovered that we are so close to eliminating cervical cancer.
Yeah, so that was, I didn't know that myself, until I sort of embarked on this project. It had never crossed my mind that, cancer is just such a serious problem, and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars have gone into cancer research. So to sort of learn that there's one that can be eradicated is extraordinary in and of itself. But the fact that it came out of an Australian-led innovation through the HPV vaccine, that was pretty incredible to me. So I'm in the age group that was, too old to have received the vaccine, so I wasn't really aware of it. I've always had my cervical screenings, been very lucky growing up in, Melbourne, and, all those health services are available to me, and I just never thought about it before, and I don't think I even realised how important the cervical screenings were in regards to preventing cervical cancer, and that, that in itself is such an important thing. So to then realise that because of this amazing health system that we've got, and the huge work that was done in public health through, sort of starting in the 70s with pap smears and getting women along, and all of that health campaigning that happened way back, and to find out that, 40 years later it's actually going to result in the elimination of this cancer in Australia is very powerful, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the fact too that you also talked about what cervical cancer means to people in other countries as well as, and how different it is to what it means to people here in Australia. For those listeners out there who haven't had a chance to watch the documentary yet, can you tell us a little bit about cervical cancer, especially in Asia? Because I was kind of alarmed to hear you say in the documentary that there's a much higher rate of deaths from cervical cancer in Asia than anywhere else around the world.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible statistics, and here we are. I'm talking all about Australia and how amazing and lucky it is here, but the health system we have here, I think we take for granted because it is so good, and we're just so privileged with the level of care that we receive. But that's just not the case around the world. And in Asia, they're having a lot of trouble getting women to turn up to screening, even if screening's even available. Because there's a lot of hesitancy around allowing that kind of pelvic examination. And so women are, fearful. They don't know what it is. They don't know whether it's important, or they simply don't have access to it. And that's a big part of what we're trying to show through the documentary is that these amazingly innovative delivery systems are being developed through the self-sampling kits, which means that a woman can go into a private space, either at home or at a health provider, and perform the test herself in her own privacy, and then be able to follow up with whichever system she's in to get her results, which means she doesn't have to undergo that kind of invasive pelvic examination, which is just simply not acceptable for a lot of women in a lot of different cultural settings as well.
Yeah.
So it's sort of finding ways to overcome those barriers.
Yeah. And is there, if anyone watches this documentary and wants to help out, especially with people in Asia, how can they go about helping? Is there any way Aussies can help?
Yeah, definitely. So I would suggest, it depends which country. I mean, obviously in the film we've highlighted some amazing programs that are going on in Malaysia through the ROSE program. And so the VCS Foundation here in Victoria is actually very closely aligned. So they can certainly help funnel fundraising to the ROSE program. And then it's probably contacting the various cancer councils in whichever region you're interested in supporting and finding out what programs there are and how to fund directly if there's a particular country you're interested in supporting.
Definitely. And how important is it to you as a filmmaker to have this documentary released in Australia, but also what are the conversations that you're hoping that this documentary will have its audiences having once they walk away from the cinema?
Yeah, there's two sort of quite different things that I'd love to see happen. One of them is I'd love for women to see this and then think, oh, have I had my cervical screening? I better make that appointment. Or if they're in a country where they're not sure, to go and talk to their health provider and ask for one if they haven't been offered one. So getting that awareness up about why you should do this. So that's a really big part of the conversation. And the other part is to really have people feel really inspired that, this is something the world can rise up to. We, as a global population, can eliminate a cancer for the first time in history, and to feel really hopeful about what that could mean for not just cervical cancer, but for other cancers, and to really embrace that idea and be positive about the fact that, we can all come together and create a much more positive future. So I guess they're the two kind of aspirational goals. One, get women talking, get women understanding the importance of cervical screening and vaccination for the HPV vaccination. But also, be inspired that, we can change our health futures if we want to.
Definitely. And I'm hoping a lot of men head along and check out this documentary as well, because sometimes men can be the reminder for their wives. I know of one person that's in my own life who reminded his wife to go along and get a breast scan, and it was a good thing that she did because they found out that she had breast cancer at that time. So are you hoping that men head along to this documentary as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's such an important part of women looking after their health is having the support of their partners to, enable them to do that. And as you say, to remind them, women, we're all busy. And equally, I hope women remind their partners to, have their screenings for various things that, come up along the way. So we've all got to kind of work together on this and make sure each other's supported in looking after their health.
Definitely. Well, for all the listeners out there, we are going to have links from where you can get tickets to these screenings as well, so that people can head along and check out the documentary. But before I go, Sue, is there anything you would like to say to our listeners out there before they get a chance to see this amazing documentary?
Look, thank you so much for listening now, and I really hope that you're feeling inspired to see the film. It's a really beautiful film, if I do say so myself. And I just think it's a really important, powerful message to be sharing, that we can all be part of improving the health of women and the global population by spreading important health messages. And it's a really powerful film, and I think it's really, and it will create some really good conversations. So yeah, please head over to FanForce and check it out.
Definitely. And for all our listeners out there, definitely head along and check out Conquering Cancer. The links are up there on our website for where you can grab tickets to these screenings of the film. And also, if you're listening to this on the podcast, the links will be directly below where you found the podcast. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.